I just got the coolest news from one of my rockstar clients. They received and accepted an invitation to a huge TEDx event over the next couple of months. We met for a week, only 3 times, and each of the times were less than 30 minutes each. And the rest of the time that we talked about their idea and their application, it was all text. So if you want to know how to do something similar, it has to do with mindset. And come on, let's go. Hey, I'm Marc Cordon Creative, and I help people disrupt the status quo by getting on big stages like TEDx events, podcasts, and digital courses, and so many more creative elements. I'm going to be talking today about not only my client, the rockstar client, but also how they position themselves to get a TEDx so quickly. I can't make promises, but what I can talk about is this idea of having a mindset. So this is what's going to happen over the next few months. I'm going to connect with this person after their TEDx is over and uploaded to the interwebs. And we're going to have a conversation on my podcast, the Golden Mike Podcast. You're going to see this person, you're going to hear this person, and probably the first few things that you're going to think is this. That must be super easy of you, Cordone, to coach a person like this, a person who's attractive, a person who's got their stuff together, who's articulate, who's funny, who is confident. And sure, that's something that you can ostensibly see in this person. But one of the big reasons I do coach is because oftentimes the way that we present ourselves on the exterior is not the same thing going on in the interior. And I'm not pulling this person in. This person really does have a very strong interior and exterior that are synced up. I coach because sometimes the exterior isn't the same thing as the interior. I think that's why so many people use this metaphor of like the duckling cruising across like a super serene pond. We see the duckling just so graceful, almost effortlessly across a lake, right? And then you go underneath the water and their fucking legs are going like they're going crazy, right? So it's like that in the external world, right? We come across as that like duckling who's got all their stuff together. And then underneath, we are flailing. So there's one thing that I want you to take away from this video on mindset and TEDx coaching, and it's this. I believe in you until you can believe in yourself. Is it corny? Kind of. Does it work? It works. Why? Because again, I'm working with the interior part of you to make it feel like the exterior part of you. And when you can get those things in line, when you can come up and show up big, it's a lot easier to apply for a TEDx talk. So, given that, let's go and talk about the major mindset issues that come up and how I coach my own clients to get those things moving forward and get to a successful TEDx application. So, with this first mindset piece, I want to talk about the work of Carol Dweck, who made a distinction between having a fixed mindset versus having a growth mindset. So, let's talk about having a fixed mindset. Oftentimes, people who have a fixed mindset believe that they are born with skills better than other people, which is fine, right? They are born to give a TEDx talk. They are born to be a speaker. They are born to talk about the subject matter that they're talking about. However, if someone who's born into a fixed mindset, right, that's the born thing, well, then there's no room for actual growth. They either have the skill that they were born with or they don't. Now, here's the thing in working with a TEDx client with a fixed mindset, everything works well for them until they can't achieve something that they feel like they were born to do. So, one of the biggest examples of a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset happened with this client that I had who was in the stages of creating their TEDx video application. And the thing is this client, I've always seen them as one of the most articulate people that I've met. Their voice is smooth as butter, smooth as butter. This person could go from a podcast to talking on a news segment. It all made sense that this person goes and creates a video that was somewhat easy, right? So we went in, we needed to create a 90-second video of their talk. And in 90 seconds, I saw this client go from someone who was very, very, very confident that they could knock out a TEDx video in 90 seconds to someone who basically was in blabbering tears at the end of a 45-minute coaching session. And so one of the things that I can do as a coach was to take what they had been learning and move it from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. So when it comes to you going into a TEDx talk and an application that is just really, really frustrating and you can't get much going out of it, the question to ask is, what is the lesson here? What is the lesson here? Goes and opens up failures and creates this learning module that you can then go and apply, you being able to use a growth mindset. So here's another mindset issue that comes up when doing TEDx applications or getting ready for the stage, and it is the classic imposter syndrome, right? This idea that during the applications, what if I get accepted, and then they find me out as a fraud? They find me to be a phony baloney. Like, what happens if I am the person to get on that stage and are discovered and bring shame to TEDx? It gets like histrionic, right? Shame to my family. All the things I'd worked on for 25 years come crashing down in this one like embarrassing moment, right? That's kind of the imposter syndrome. Now, here's the thing. A little bit of imposter syndrome is fine because it lets us know that we care about being there and sharing things with other people, right? But when imposter syndrome goes so far to be crippling, to go into a paralysis, right? That's when we can use some of the mindset work. When I'm working with my TEDx clients, and even other clients who are in imposter syndrome, I ask them two things. Question number one, do you deserve to be there? So, do you deserve to be on the red dot? Then number two is, do you have the skills to be there and flourish? When you ask yourself, do I have the skills? You can then, even if you say, I don't know if I have the skills, that's where a TEDx coach comes into play. If you don't have the skills, you can work with somebody who can maximize your skills to be on that stage. So when it comes to imposter syndrome, do I deserve to be on that stage? Do I have the skills to be on that stage? And if you can find a way to answer both, you're coming close to my rock star client who just got their huge TEDx event and accepted it. So if you're picking up what I'm throwing down and seeing the importance of mindset work when it comes to your TEDx application, hit me up in the comments below and talk about what some of your biggest mindset challenges are. And if I can get into that and make a couple more videos, I'll do that for you. All right, so the next mindset issue that comes up and that I work with my clients on is motivation. Motivation and happiness. Do we get happy and motivated by things that are external to us at a TEDx talk? Maybe the idea of putting TEDx speaker in our resumes? Or are we more motivated to be happy by the things that happen inside, right? So let's start with this idea of inner happiness, right? Oftentimes, I talk about it all the time in the Joy Revolution. Oftentimes, what happens when someone is internally motivated is that they go and they're like, what I'm doing here on the TEDx stage is good things. I am doing good. I feel like I'm living a good life in sharing my idea, in empowering other people, right? So that would be an inner motivation. An outer motivation would be, look, I get to put it out there. I get to say that I had a TEDx talk. I get to say that I stepped on the red dot. I get to have a video of me. I get to meet people afterwards. So that's sort of an external motivation. They've derived their happiness from this external part, right? And so oftentimes there's a push-pull here. Is it one or the other? And for it, I say both. I say both forms of motivation should be happening, and it's okay for you to receive them all. If you are only looking at the doing good element of that internal happiness, you are going to miss being out there with the audience, right? If you're only thinking about all the external things that are happening, you don't get to feel the upswelling of the heart, the joy that comes from feeling like you do good. So not only are you feeling good, but you're doing good. Both of them can happen together. And I mean, what better place to feel good and do good but at a TEDx event? So go out, Make a list of what are the things that are external that you're going to get happiness from, and what are the things internal that you're going to get happiness from. Okay, so the final mindset issue that oftentimes comes up is this idea of voice, genuineness, uniqueness, authenticity, all of those all bunched together, right? Because one of the biggest things that can happen is somebody just wants to do a TEDx talk, maybe externally motivated, right? And depending on the site, they actually change the entire talk in hopes that they get accepted somewhere and then give a talk. It's almost like I give a TEDx talk for the sake of giving one and then slapping it on my resume. Unfortunately for me, I don't coach folks who just want to slap it on the resume. But also at the same time, some people will lean into maybe I should change for the different sites, right? Time after time after time after time, I've seen more and more people who express themselves unapologetically. When I gave my TEDx talk, I had pink hair and I was talking about happiness. The client that I'm talking about has a very unique way of expressing themselves. And so when it does come to you and your application, let your quirky identity shine. Put it out there and be unapologetic about it. Okay, let's talk about my rockstar client doing rockstar things on rockstar TEDx stages. Talking about woo woo, no, I'm not talking about woo woo. But this is a person who came in, already had a good grasp of growth mentality and what needed to happen to be able to iterate and create this evolution of a TEDx application. They understood that things like imposter syndrome were things that they needed to work through, and they didn't beat themselves up over it. They understood that a TEDx talk would bring them both internal and external happiness, and they didn't have to apologize about it. They also didn't have to apologize for who they were and the uniqueness that they brought into the world. Now, here's the thing. That's all the mindset work. Next week, I'm going to show you the 3 strategies that I always use with my one-on-one TEDx clients to get their application accepted. So until then, dig deep. I'll see you in the underground. Bye. Now. Funky tut. Funky tut. I should have shaved.